little tall here. Okay, so I am going to do a little tutorial on homemade sour cream. It's really basic. You have really simple ingredients. You've got your heavy whipping cream, which you can get from any store, any size, however much you want, and whatever brand you want. I don't believe you can buy raw whipping cream in Utah, but if you do have raw whipping cream, I don't know yet the knowledge of how to do this with it being raw. So because the bacteria competes. So right here we've got kefir, raw milk kefir. We've got a jar and some coffee filters and a rubber band and a spoon. So I have to get this right the first time because I'm not gonna go out and buy more stuff. So it's really easy to get right. I just don't wanna, actually I don't wanna clean everything again and have to redo this. So really easy, what you do is you take some of the raw milk kefir. Really, it doesn't matter. I've had it work like however many ways. So just a few spoonfuls, 2 or 3, one to 3. And then you just fill it the rest of the way with the heavy whipping cream. I actually don't know if my proportions match here, but and they don't. Okay, so I have some whipping cream left. That's okay. And then you can just mix it around gently. Don't agitate it too much. It's live bacteria. Treat it gently. Just a little bit of a stir. And I'll stick this over here. And then you can take a coffee filter, or you can take, I don't lick my hands in the kitchen, or you could take a little piece of cheesecloth, or just anything where the air can get through, but like dust and bugs and things like that can't get through. It needs to breathe. You can't seal it. Do not seal a lid tight on this. It will, the bacteria will die and it will go bad. That's not good. So you take a rubber band, stick it around. That's pretty much it. Leave it in the cupboard for 3 to 5 days. Usually for me, it's about 3 days. You kind of, oh, my canning jars are popping, if you just heard that. It kind of depends on the temperature in your kitchen. You want to leave it somewhere lukewarm to a little bit warm. Not somewhere cool, like definitely not the fridge. The fridge will slow down the process, and I actually haven't tried it that way. It might work, but it would take longer for sure. But about 3 to 5 days is usually right. And I will show you the finished product in the next clip. Okay, so it's been 3 days. I peeked in it at the sour cream yesterday, and it does look a little thick, so I think it's ready. So I'm gonna get it out of the cupboard. I just have it right here in our pantry, and it's just the same thing as it was the other day. So as you can see, I don't know how good it is to see from this, so I'll try to do a close-up, but there's whey. So it kind of separates into a little bit of curds and whey. This is a natural part of the dairy process, cheese making, sour cream making. Trying to think of what other, cream cheese, sour cream, what's the other one I'm forgetting? Anyways, cottage cheese. So yeah, so as you can see, it has turned into a really thick, yummy sour cream texture. And I will do a close-up on this while I'm stirring it, so you can see like how it looks close up. It's just like wonderfully thick. And I believe you can actually leave it in the cupboard a little bit longer if you like it more sour flavor. But if you just kind of like more of a creamy flavor, like this is not actually very sour at all. This can be used more for things that you would use like cream cheese for. And you can pair it with like fruits and just tasty sugary things like that, which I love to do, like mandarin oranges or blackberries is a really good snack. It's almost kind of yogurty, So adding fruit to it is really intuitive and really good. So here I'm just going to mix a few spoonfuls. This is kind of more of a yogurty kind of thing of the sour cream. And then a little bit of homemade apple butter we made, and just stir it up. And it's a super tasty, healthy, probiotic rich snack. And the cool thing about homemade sour cream is my last batch I kept in the fridge from March until about a month or two ago. It lasts a really long time because just a little like overview of how bacteria works, which this is knowledge we've kind of lost in this day and age. We kind of have forgotten how this is. When you get into fermentation, fermenting vegetables and things like that, you start to realize that how the way bacteria works. So when you have food, it has good bacteria on it. It has enzymes, probiotics, prebiotics, all of that good stuff. And so when you make something like this, the good bacteria is in there, and it actually lasts a lot longer than if you sterilize it and then there's no bacteria, there's no good bacteria. There's just the potential for bad bacteria. So once bad bacteria gets into a sterile environment, it just grows like crazy and it goes bad. So that's why regular milk goes bad that's been pasteurized that you get from the store. It goes bad after a certain amount of time because it doesn't have any good bacteria. It's just a sterile environment. And so with raw milk, you can leave it in the fridge for a lot longer. It never goes bad, it just goes sour. So that's the case with raw sour cream. When it's in the fridge, it has the good bacteria outweighs the bad bacteria, so the good bacteria just keeps producing and producing. So as it's in the fridge, it'll go a little bit more sour, just a lot more slowly than if you keep it in the cupboard. And so, you know, if you do like a fermented salsa, which I've done, I actually know people who make huge batches of fermented salsa, canned fermented salsa. They ferment it for a few days. Salsa usually is under a week that you ferment it, but sauerkraut, you ferment it for like 3 weeks. But then you can store these vegetables in your cupboard or in your cellar for the entire winter without canning them, without sterilizing them, without boiling them, because you've already propagated the good bacteria. So they basically just sit there all winter, and the good bacteria just keeps feeding and keeps kind of, I'm sure there's better words for this. I'm just giving you the general concepts. But you can go in and grab a new bottle of salsa all winter long, and it's totally fine. So the way you know if things have gone bad is if the smell is not going to be good. A sour scent is different from the scent of something that's gone bad. So, you know, you have the same thing with fermented salsas and fermented sauerkrauts, where it just goes a little bit more sour and more sour as time goes on. And the colder you keep it, the slower that process is. So I've put sauerkraut in the sun, which actually is really great because the sun is actually kills off bad bacteria, but encourages the good bacteria to grow. So it's really cool to put it in the sun. I've read an article about UV rays. I can't cite the science of it right now, putting it into a warm environment like the sun kind of speeds up the multiplication of the good bacteria. But of course, if you go too hot, like sterilizing it, you kill it. You kill all the bacteria. So that's just a cool basic rundown of how this works and how it's actually beneficial, because when you're eating sour cream like this, you're eating all those enzymes, you're eating all those probiotics. You don't have to go out and buy expensive probiotics from the store that are in pill form. You can if you want. You're perfectly welcome to do that. I'm sure there's arguments for those as well, but if that's something you don't want to spend money on, you can just have your own fermented and cultured. This is a culture. When it's vegetables, it's a ferment. When it's dairy, it's a culture. And that's something to go more into detail. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but yeah, so you don't need to, like, I'm a big advocate that things don't need to be extremely expensive. Food doesn't need to be extremely expensive. Supplements don't need to be extremely expensive. I'm sure there's reasons sometimes when they do need to be, but in general, I don't think it needs to be that way. With my live kefir culture that I use to make this, all I do is add milk every day to the kefir culture. and I could give someone else the kefir and they could then have their own and add milk to it every day, and then they could give it to their neighbor and they could give it to their neighbor, and it propagates itself perpetually for free. You buy the milk, but the kefir itself, you don't have to charge money for it. You can just give it, and I could give it to people. We could spread it across this whole town and everybody would have some, and it would totally be for free. So I'm really big on sustainability, and I think that kind of mentality is much more sustainable than consumerism, consuming things and throwing them away, consuming and throwing away, always trying to make a buck off of everything and everybody all the time. I'm not saying that's, making money is totally evil, or, people shouldn't be working towards achieving as much as they can in life. I definitely am a very achievement-oriented person, but I'm just saying the philosophy doesn't have to, you don't always have to be paying a ton of money for high quality things. So that was just covered a lot of bases there, but anyways, this is super simple. You just need 2 items and 3 days.